Hello, welcome to this video from PreludeDriver.com on how to change the timing belt in a Honda Prelude. In this case it's a 1991 Honda Prelude with a B21A1 engine, but the procedure would be the same for a B20A5 equipped Prelude, so that would be pretty much any of the third generation ones. A similar procedure could be used for the carbureted models as well. Anyway, just to give you a brief rundown on what we're going to do. I'm going to go through the entire procedure from start to finish. What we have already is that I have lifted the car and taken off the front wheels so that we can get access to the crankshaft pulley and underneath the car, and I've also removed the engine splash guard. Those are pretty self-explanatory things to do, so no point really showing those in the video and making it longer than it needs to be. So the timing belt is a very crucial part of the engine because it allows the camshafts to turn in sequence that they should in relation to the crankshaft with the pistons. In these engines it's particularly important to replace the timing belt on a frequent basis because Honda built them as interference engines, probably to get a certain compression ratio. And with that in mind, if the belt snaps while the engine is running, there's a good chance that one of the pistons will come up and slap a valve, and that can cause all kinds of damage, possibly permanently destroy an engine. So Honda recommends that the belts be done every 5 years or every 100,000 kilometers, that's 60,000 miles. And so it's really something you want to keep your eye on. Anytime you buy a car like this, or you've owned one for a while, you always want to make sure that you know when the last time the belt was done. And if you've got the valve cover off, take a look at it, just make sure that it's in good shape. Because the last thing that you need is for that belt to snap when you're out for a drive and have it destroy your engine. So the procedure is not the hardest thing that you can do, but it does take a certain amount of mechanical skill to get this done. So just I will go over the tools that are required as we start out here. To kind of do this properly, you do need not only the replacement parts, which I'll go over in a minute, but you also need a torque wrench for absolute sure. You need some, a basic socket set like you would use to work on other parts of the car. To set the timing after, it's a good idea to have a timing light, just to make sure that it's zeroed in, although the mechanical timing can be set on the belt with the notches that Honda has put in it. And you'll need, just a variety of tools to kind of just get it done right. As far as parts, for this procedure, I'm actually going to do the whole thing. So when you do the timing belt, it's also a good opportunity to do the cam oil seals and also do the water pump. The water pump is a good idea to change at the same time as the timing belt because you have to take the timing belt off to, well, not off, but loosen it anyway, to change the water pump. And since you're not going to be doing that often anyway, and the water pump kind of has a similar life, you might as well do it at the same time. Another reason that's important is that the water pump, of course, has a cogged pulley wheel, and if your bearings in your water pump seize up, then they shred your belt, and you're back to a broken timing belt situation. So it's just a good idea, I think, for the cost, to do it all at once. If you're going to be doing it yourself, if you're going to be getting in there, why not do all of it? The cam oil seals, I think, are optional, but still a good idea. They're very inexpensive to get from Honda, and that saves you running the risk of getting an oil leak on your cam ends and having your belt get oil soaked, which is not good for it at all. So I'm going to do the whole thing. As I bring out the parts, I'll kind of go through the part numbers and stuff like that I'll be using. Anyway, we'll get right to it here. So thanks for watching, and just watch carefully as we go through it. I'll talk about where the risk areas are, and then make sure before you set out on a project like this that you're comfortable, you kind of know what the parts are, and you've got the necessary tools. But I'm happy that you're watching. Okay, here we go. So step one is to remove the side engine mount. We need to get that out of the way because without it we're not going to be able to get the timing belt guard off the end of the engine. In order to get the mount off, we'll first have to take this ground wire off, which is really a piece of cake. So 10mm socket, and then just get right to it. Remove the one from the alternator first. Set your bolts aside somewhere where you remember where they are, and then take the one off the valve cover. Again, I mean, all these first steps are really just getting stuff out of the way so we can get to the belt. So while you're doing this, just kind of take it slow and make sure you remember how everything goes back together. This thing, we can just slide that out of the way for now. It's also usually clipped to the mount, so just grab some needle nose pliers and press the clip, and it should pop through. A little tug, and then you can just take that wire and slide it right out of the way. Okay, so the ground wire is now out of the way, and I moved the camera so that we could kind of just take a look at the position that we find ourselves in now. We need to get the side engine mount off. Now in some cars that are equipped with cruise control, the cruise control unit will be in the way. You can see that this cable blocks the path that this is going to take as we lift it out. So I'm going to remove the cruise control unit as well, just to give us a little bit more space to work. So if your vehicle has it, you'll have to do this first before you take this out. Taking this out isn't hard. All you need to do, first get the electrical clip out of the way. So just slide a flat end screwdriver in, pull that tab up, and then the plug will come out. And then there's two bolts with either a Phillips head, or they're also a 10mm socket you can use, and they just fasten this cruise control mounting unit to the body of the car. So I'll just quickly zip those out, and then we should be able to just pull this right out and get it clean out of the way. There's the bolt. Set it aside for now. Need that later. And then the bottom one will slide out. The other thing that you'll have to pull off is there's a hose that comes off this plastic bit that's down here. So easiest to take that off is to just take some pliers or something, or if you have a hose puller, and just push it off the end. There. And then this unit will come out. It's a vacuum hose that's holding us up here. Okay, so I ended up pulling the vacuum hose right off and was able to move the cruise control unit right out of the way. So now we can throw on our 14mm socket and get ready to work on getting this mount out. Now there's 3 bolts that hold the mount cap on, and then there is one through bolt, which we won't need to remove, and then there's 2 bolts on the back of it that connect to the stub that comes out of the side of the engine. So we're going to pull all those off, and that should give us the clearance that we need to lift this thing right out of here. I think I'll do the ones on the engine first, just to let it sag before I disconnect the mount itself. It probably won't move that much at all. And these may be tight. Use a breaker bar if you have to, or put a section of pipe on the end of your ratchet. And then they should just spin off. Take them out, careful not to lose them. There it is, you can check the condition of them. So you'll be able to see the engine drooping ever so slightly as you loosen that. Don't worry, it's secured by 3 other mounts in the bay. It's not going to fall at the bottom. Reminds me that a lot of people actually, when I've talked to them about this procedure before, a lot of people seem to think that you need to take the engine out to do the timing belt. It'd certainly make it easier to get at some things, but it's, I think, much easier to just do it on the car rather than struggle with getting the engine out of the car. However, I suppose if you had taken it out to, I don't know, do the clutch or something like that, you could do it then. So it looks loose. Then we can remove these other ones. Start with this long one. Keep the washer on there. Set that one aside. Remember, put them in a way that you're going to remember how they all go back together if you have any trouble remembering.